The Sega Game Gear, Sega's one and only handheld. It was meant to compete for the Game Boy, and it got its ass absolutely murdered. It didn't help the Game Gear that it took 6 AA batteries and drained them really fast. Although the Game Gear was backlit, the screen was pretty blurry to see. However though, that didn't stop the Game Gear for having not one, but 2 Power Rangers games. And let's take a look at them, starting with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Sega Game Gear. Released around 1994, this game was developed by Sims, who are part of Brand Presto. The plot is just like all the other Power Rangers games. Rita escapes, she sends her monsters, and you gotta fight the monsters alongside with some putties. So this game is basically a fusion of the Super Nintendo game and the Genesis game. Except this game works very, very well. And let's begin with the controls. The controls are simple. Button number 1 is your punch, and button number 2 is your kick. If you press them both at the same time, you do a third button punch, or like a punch and kick like. It is incredible how many moves you can pull off with just these 2 buttons. So it's kind of like a button masher, but not really. It's so simple and easy to pick up. Anyone could pick up this game and have a great time with. It's also incredible to see this game run this smooth on the Game Gear. It's just so lightning fast. All the fights, all the weapons, everything that you do is lightning fast in this game. So there's only 7 stages, and the game is not too long. It's only about 30 minutes. But the game can be pretty challenging sometimes, especially I'm looking at you, Polludicorn. Just like the Super Nintendo game, the Game Gear game of Power Rangers, all the Power Rangers play differently, so they all have their different weapons and different moveset, which is really, really awesome. And once again, it's very fun to play as all the Power Rangers, just like the Super Nintendo game, as I just mentioned. In Stage 3, you fight Tommy, the Green Power Ranger, and then you fight the Dragon Zord in Stage 4. And once you beat those 2 levels, you get to play as Tommy, the Green Power Ranger, which is really, really awesome. He has a lot of great moves in this game, which is nice. So yeah, the game only has 7 stages, and of course, no shocker, the last level you have to rematch some of the bosses you fought, and then fight Cyclopses at the end, which thankfully this is the easiest Cyclopses fight, because he only has 1 form, but you can still put on the fight. So yeah, this game may be short, but it's definitely a little bit challenging, but nowhere near as frustrating as the god-awful Genesis game that I mentioned. Graphically, this game is just beautiful. This game is so colorful, the animations are wonderful to look at, and everything about this game is just so good to look at. It's just so colorful. The Game Gear is known for having colorful games, but this game, man, beautiful looking game. The music is pretty decent, although I absolutely love the theme where you fight as Tommy when he's giant and find all the bosses in Stage 7. It's such a great tune to listen to. It has like a darker vibe to it, which is really nice. So the music's pretty decent. But all in all, this is a really fun game for the Sega Game Gear. A very easy pick up and play Game Gear, and even the blurry screen of the Game Gear is not going to ruin the fun of this game. Seriously, what I'm about to say may surprise you. This is honestly one of the best Power Rangers games of the 16-bit era. It's amazing that it was on the Sega Game Gear. Now it's time to talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie on Sega Game Gear. There's not really a whole lot to talk about this one because it's kind of the same game except you fight different bosses. The first 3 levels you're facing Lord Zed, but then all of a sudden Ivan Ooze interrupts and say, "Hey motherfucker, I'm the real villain here." There's only 6 stages, and 4 of them is just the fighting stages, while the last 2 you're fighting Hornetron and then Ivan Ooze. Yeah, you don't fight Scorpitron even though he's in the final cutscene. Weird. So yeah, it's a similar game as the Power Rangers Game Gear game, but the only real difference is you actually have an energy meter, so if your energy meter starts blinking, you could do a lot more crazy moves by hitting the 1 and 2 button a lot. I only stick with the White Power Ranger, but like I said, they all play differently. The music is pretty good. Instead, just like the Genesis version of the movie, they decided to just use the music from the show and done in 8-bit, which sounds really nice. And graphically, once again, this game just looks fantastic. This game is a lot shorter than the original Power Rangers Game Gear game, because there's only 6 stages instead of 7, and 4 of them are just you punching putties and fighting bosses. The last 2 is your Hornetron and Ivan Ooze bout. Ivan Ooze can be a little bit tricky, especially on normal mode, but once you beat him, that's it. The game is over. So yeah, it's not as good as Power Rangers on Game Gear, but still a fun one nonetheless. Just like the original Power Rangers game, I forgot to mention this actually, there's funny cheats with this game. Such as in the movie, you could play as the Putty or Power Rangers or even the bosses, but they're gigantic, which is really, really funny. You could do that in the original Game Gear game. There's not a code where the characters are giants. So overall, both Power Rangers and Power Rangers the movie on Sega Game Gear are very fun games. Honestly, I go as far as saying they're some of the best Power Ranger games of the 16-bit era, next to Power Rangers on Super Nintendo. Best part of all, these games are very cheap to find on the Game Gear, and you can find them for like about a few bucks. So that's really nice. I'm not gonna lie, these are some of the best games on the Game Gear, and not even the blurry screen of the Game Gear is gonna prevent your enjoyment. So pick them up. Next time, originally I was gonna talk about Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue on Game Boy Color. But instead, we're gonna talk about Power Rangers on Game Boy and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie as well on Game Boy. So hope you guys enjoy. See you guys later.